Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of The Fourth Rail. I am Tom Knighton. Today we're going to talk about a few different things. For example, is fatphobia white supremacy? Is it okay to assault someone who disagrees with you at a pride parade? And is Don Lemon the harbinger of truth? We're going to get into all that here in just a second. So, if you've ever been overweight, you probably have gotten the looks. You've gotten maybe some rude comments from people, and then there's some more practical concerns. Maybe you sit in a theater seat and it's a little snug. Maybe airplane rides are just uncomfortable for you. Being heavy is not exactly a cakewalk, but is it a form of racism? That's what this TikToker thinks.
This commenter says, I'm perfectly fine with fat people, but WTF, do you mean Aryan? Fatphobia and racism are two completely separate things. But they're not. All bigotry in our culture is rooted in white supremacy. White supremacy sets an ideal, and any deviation from that ideal is discriminated against. Obviously, this goes for race, but it also includes the person's size. In our culture, skinny people are upheld as the ideal. There's also racism behind why skinniness is considered the ideal. Because as white women, we want to set ourselves apart from black women who stereotypically have curvier bodies. All bodies are beautiful. But white supremacy needs to hold up a singular ideal in order to maintain control.
So, literally every form of discrimination is the result of white supremacy? Am I cracking that correctly, lady? Because we know that in China, for example, movie companies remove black actors from the poster. Star Wars, the Disney trilogy, is a prime example. John Boyega was removed from the poster because Chinese audiences don't seem to like black people very much. China's not a white supremacist country, is it? Because if so, they kind of suck at it, considering there's so few white people there. What about the Rwandan genocide? One group of black tribesmen killed another group of black tribesmen. Right? This was hatred going back well before colonialization. Okay, so you can't put that on white people. If you can put anything on white people, it's in trying to put two disparate tribes in the same country. All right, I needed a moment for a lot of reasons. One of them is that I get that when it comes to trans issues, there's going to be a lot of debate. It's contentious as hell. All right, some people are, hey, everyone can be trans, everyone should be trans, whatever. Other people are like, nobody should. Most people fall somewhere in between. But there are legitimate concerns, and the way you address legitimate concerns is through open debate, right? We talk about it, we reason, and even if you don't change that mind, arguing, debate on political topics is a spectator sport. You're not necessarily trying to change their mind, you're trying to lay the groundwork for someone else. Ultimately, that's what happens. But a woman named Kay Yang had a horrible encounter. Really did. She was at New York City Pride yesterday in, Washington Square Park. And she tweets out that my name is Kay Yang. I'm a former trans rights activist and LGBT nonprofit whistleblower. I was just kicked, hit, pushed, mobbed by dozens of people in Washington Square Park. Men who identify as women called me bitch and assaulted me. All right? Awful. Awful sounding stuff. If true. Well, the thing is, Yang provided video. And yeah. It was what we thought. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you stand on the issues. You cannot assault people. All right. No, this was not the worst assault we've ever seen. You know, with no blood, no gore, nothing like that. It doesn't matter, people. You can't assault people just because you disagree with them. You can't do it. Because a little push, a little nudge, a little bump, a grab, all that stuff starts off small. But you never know where it's going to go. You cannot just assault people you disagree with. Right? Now, I'm going to be honest. Yes, you can make the argument that Yang should not have been standing in the middle of a pride celebration in Washington Square Park in New York City, taking the stand she did. She probably should have been off to the side making that same stand. At least then, you know, she'd have probably been a little safer. Then again, we don't know that it would have made a damn bit of difference. Because some of these people are freaking unhinged. They are absolutely insane. And that's exactly what we're looking at right here. Right? Sane people don't just assault other people because you disagree with them. You don't. It's not how that works. Right? The line was crossed. Free speech means free speech for everybody. If you don't like what they have to say, debate them. They don't want to debate you. That's the win. You won. Congratulations. 2 thumbs up. Right? Yang was standing there with a sign. It doesn't appear that she instigated anything except by being present. Well, you know what? For the people who assaulted Yang, I've got a message for you. You're surrounded by people who disagree with you. Everywhere you go, you're going to find people who disagree with you. When you voice your opinion, are you willing to be assaulted?
I have a responsibility not only as a journalist, but as an American, to tell the truth and to abide by the promises of the Constitution. Because the Constitution says a more perfect union, not a perfect union. I'm not a perfect person, no one is. But I think the Constitution deserves us in order to fulfill the promise of the Constitution, we have to stand up for what is right. We have to stand up for the truth.
Except, Don, that's not your job. See, the problem here is Don is saying that his job was to tell people the truth and to stand up for truth. But the job of a journalist is to help people find the truth, right? Don made up his mind ahead of time, right? He decided up front that he knew what was true and he was going to tell people exactly what that is. We call that bias, Don, right? It's media bias. That is the problem. This idea that it is the journalist's jobs to filter information instead of report information is part of why people don't trust the media anymore. Right? Don Lemon was one of the worst proponents of this kind of thing, apparently. He was one of the worst examples, I should say. Why? Because who cared about facts when it was about truth? And we live in a world where truth is supposed to be relative. People who watch Don Lemon's show regularly thought that. They believe that. And again, let's remember this is the same Don Lemon who decided to hold up a discussion about a missing airline flight that just vanished. Everybody on board probably dead. And he literally took the time to posit the possibility that a black hole opened up and ate it. Bruh. He treated that like it was a serious news story. And he has the nerve to sit there and pretend like he's only going to report things that are true. No, Don, you decide what you want to report based on your personal feelings and your personal agenda. That's all it was. All right, well, with that, I'm going to wrap up for today because, frankly, my computer is considering, killing me for whatever reason. Don't know. Apparently, when you buy a laptop for writing, it does not do well with content creation. Who knew? Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. If you like what I'm doing here, hit that like button, hit subscribe.